Hello, this video is on how TNA can improve its product and compete with WWE. I think I'm gonna do a wrestling video right now because I think I'm gonna do a wrestling video because I think I should do something different for a change. TNA needs to, first of all, they need to hide the negatives and promote the positives. Now, what I mean by that is TNA cannot compete with WWE on budget. They can't compete with them in a budget because WWE has $1 billion budget and they can travel all over the world. TNA can do that. They need to stop traveling the country. They need to have one sole location they wrestle from. If they want to do small tours once in a while, or if they want to have maybe one show a year like Bound for Glory, which is supposed to be their biggest event, from a location, an arena in some big city, then they can do that. But for the most part, they need to go back to since they can't go back to the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. They need to go back to um, they need to go back to the Asylum in Tennessee where they started in Nashville, or they need to find some bingo hall somewhere or whatever they do, and they need to wrestle there as opposed to in some large company. TNA needs to also, like I said, hide their negatives and positives, and they need to differentiate their company. And part of the way they can do that is they have a better women's division than WWE, and they have an X division. And WWE doesn't even have a cruiserweight type division. Well, they need to have spotlight their women's division. They need to have maybe 2 matches a night with the women in it. They need to have main events, and they need to really showcase that aspect of their company. They need to also highlight the X division, the high flying. They need to almost make it like the cruiserweight division on crack. I mean, it needs to be the extreme, almost extreme version, more extreme, more prominently need to showcase that and showcase the high flying. And they used to have a six-sided ring. Well, but one way they can differentiate the program again is to have that. But back to showcasing the positives, they need to have, for example, they need to, if they would do this, they need to, they need to get rid of, they need to get rid of a lot of the wrestlers over 40, a lot of the older wrestlers. Then you bring in the new wrestlers, bring in people from OVW, which is one of their smaller companies that they're tied up with, that essentially turns out talent who later become TNA wrestlers. They need to bring in people from that company and have younger wrestlers and try to present themselves as the future as opposed to WWE as being the past. They have The Rock, they have John Cena, they have Randy Orton, these people you've had for decades, 2 decades. Well, you're the future. You're not the old wrestlers. They're the way they look now, they look like the old guys league. They look like a retirement home for professional wrestlers. They need to become new. They need to have a new product with the youth in their company, and a new product. You like John Cena? Well, John Cena, how old is he? He's in his 30s. Well, this guy here, he's in his early 20s, he's in his mid 20s, he's got another 10, 15 years ahead of him. Watch our guy, watch this guy who's going to become something one day. And you can watch his climb, you can watch him evolve, and he's new and he's different. You haven't seen him before, and you're not sick of him like you are John Cena. And they need to be TV-14 back to differentiate the product. WWE is PG, they need to be TV-14. They need to open the envelope creatively in the same way WF did in the Attitude Era. And they need to have, their story. TNA WWE is very cartoon. WWE storylines are very firmly oriented. Well, TNA needs to be very adult. TNA needs to have a show that is very edgy and its content is very controversial and very adult oriented. Their characters are very cartoonish. TNA characters need to be very real. WWE's characters are Umaga, for example, the Undertaker, who acts like he's dead. Hornswoggle, those Matadores. Well, TNA needs to be, they're a midget. Their Hornswoggle could be, I guess, an Irish guy who acts like a leprechaun sometimes. But I would rather do this. Someone like Puppet, who has made an appearance in TNA before, sign him to a deal, or get somebody like him and give them a similar character. Have somebody who is a drunk and he smokes and he curses all the time and he's a pervert and he goes around touching the divas or the knockouts ass and shit, and he's a pervert, and that's the midget they need. And Umaga, well, they need somebody who he might wear the paint like Umaga does. He might beat some drums and that kind of tribal, but when he gets done doing that, he does an interview and he talks about how he's not really from tribes, or what he does is he says he's proud of these tribes, and that's something that he's into. Talk about how he has a Samoan heritage in wrestling, like a lot of Samoans do, and that's how you do that. Undertaker will, Los Matadores, there's supposed to be a Mexican representation of Mexicans or Hispanics. They're supposed to be representatory of what they are, where you go in another direction. You are an adult, you do something that's real, something that a lot of Mexicans would probably like, as well as a lot of people, maybe it's a little bit exploitated, but you have almost a gang. You have like La Raza, you have people in baggy clothes and they're, fucking gangsters, and they come out to rap music, and, instead of these bullshit characters who are supposed to be bullfighters, and they have a little midget who comes out with a bull, acts like a bull. Well, no, you're a gang. You're a gang, and you're presenting a gang lifestyle that a lot of Mexicans, or probably these real black people, are familiar with, and it's more real. They have Undertaker, where your Undertaker is a Satanist. Your Undertaker is the 99 version of Undertaker, not the one that he started out as and the one he's portraying now. You're not some guy who thinks he's dead. No, you're a Satanist. If you're gothic, maybe you're into embalming people, I don't know. But you're different. You're different. Maybe you're something like Gangrel in the vampire lifestyle, Kevin Thorne, Vampiro. Maybe you're something like that, I don't know. But that's the presentation. WWE does presentation where two guys get fired and they come back, and they're jumping the rails with like Cat Bugler masks on and hoods over their head, fighting these guys, and one of them's still wearing his wrestling paint, and he's playing Goldust, even though they're calling him Dustin. Why not just call fucking Goldust Dustin Rhodes and have him without the paint on and be himself, the guy he is in real life, who plays Goldust, or almost make Goldust like this weird stage he was going through earlier in his life, and do like that. Again, six-sided ring, portray sexuality. WWE doesn't want to portray sexuality. Sexuality is very cliche, very cheesecake. It's undertones. Your sexuality is very obvious, and it's a lot of they only do a little bit. You do it a decent amount. Your sexuality is not cliche. It's not cheesecake. It's very obvious. And it's all throughout the show. And you have, back to the women's division, you might have one serious cage match in the main event on the Impact, but at the same time, earlier on in the show, you have like a Brian Penny's match with Christy Hemme or maybe somebody who don't wrestle as much or something, and you portray both elements of women's division like they've always had, and you portray that. They don't want to do blood. They don't want to do cussing. You do a lot of cussing. You do cussing throughout the show. They want to be family oriented, not offensive, but you go all out with it. They don't want to do blood. They don't have guys blade. You have guys blade. You have guys bleed on your show. You have an edgier, adult-oriented, mature product that is different from WWE's, and WWE wants to attract the women, like with the Divas reality show. You're not interested in attracting anyone that's not in wrestling. If there's women who like the show, that's great. You want them to watch, but you're not going to try to attract women that are not interested in a pro wrestling product. Their women are very again, they have models, you have real women, and you have a serious women's wrestling division. That's something they have. They have models. They have like AJ Lee, and she's skipping around and slapping people and kissing people. Your women's division is something very serious. You have Lady Tapa, which, by the way, I have no problem with her character, except for the fact that she plays a tribal wrestler. She needs to do an interview and talk about how she's not tribal, and she needs to stop making those sounds because it's not realistic. But yeah, they need to portray that. They need to be very different. They need to put something that and if you don't like the product, they need to be a big middle finger to you, not to try to get you to like it, and not try to make their product into anything it's not compromise, not kiss ass, not bullshit their fans. And TNA, WWE right now with a lot of the recent pay-per-views, people have been very disappointed. TNA needs to be a product that does not disappoint. TNA needs to be the product that is adult-oriented, that is edgy, that is different, that the people want to come see. And that's it. P666.